And it is important to remember that decades of studies into retrieval practice have led to key elements being discovered to enhance learning effects and retrieval practice. Actually, there's a few different ones here that are listed. So, for example, there's a spaced effect. So, how long between learning the materials and undertaking a retrieval activity? How long is that space of learning? There's also interleaved practice, mixing up the topics. So this is a bit more complicated, but you're reading a module of text, you're reading text module A, but then you're quizzing yourself on module B before attending module C lectures. And although that may be a bit confusing, it might sound a bit confusing, but if it's structured correctly, it can really help to positively impact the learning efforts that the students putting in. There's also distributed practice, which is similar to spacing effect, and it's about allowing the brain enough time to be able to forget, and then you're able to then later down the line feel success when you're able to recall that little piece of information in a retrieval based activity. So for example, if you're doing a quiz and you're having to recall the information, you get something right, it feels good then to say like the success that you have and that sense of accomplishment as well. Then we've also got effortful processing, and that's the harder it is to remember something, the stronger the learning effect is. And this is a balance to challenging and what you can and won't remember. And it's about just being able to remember something and being able to remember it well as well. And then there's a desirable difficulty, and that's the optimal challenge of remembering information without being too overwhelmed as a student and being able to recall that. And then there's mind wandering as well that happens, but focusing on the retrieval practice activities, it can actually help to limit this as well. And so you might be thinking, well, does everyone agree with this? But because there has been some confusions over what low-stake tests look like. And when it's poorly implemented, retrieval activities, they can sometimes lead to having some conflicting ideas. But overall, retrieval practice is widely accepted. Some learning activities that retrieval practice has come up against are passive listening confidence. So because you're listening to a lecture, you're going to retain more of the information of what you're hearing as well. Then there's perceptual fluency. So thinking that because you found something easy, then you're easily able to read it, and then you're able to learn from it as well. In fact, it's probably not committing to your long-term memory actually, because when you're scanning through text, you're thinking like, yeah, I've got this down as a student, I've got this module covered. But in fact, when it comes to taking your finals, you're more likely to forget it very soon because you've not really committed to having that processing. You haven't given it that process time for it to encode and in your long-term memory. And taking notes independently in classes, it helps students to build their knowledge, but then retaining the information, then returning to those notes as well, is where students will really boost their performance overall when it comes to quizzing and taking those finals.